pursuing your creative dreams is an athletic endeavor. The physical is athletic. The conceptual is spiritual. Conceiving an idea that's in your mind or in your heart or in the air and making it real is a spiritual transformation of something from one realm into this physical realm. Here, right? And physically, that requires you, as Suleika was saying, it may take 30 days and long hours, and you may have to balance other aspects of your life, your health, you have to have income, you have to eat, you have to process all of the things that are happening in your life on a daily basis. And then, to maintain this vessel, you got to move through the world, and you have to deal with all that comes with having a body and having a physical emblem in this realm while you're chasing something that nobody can see and you can't explain it to somebody. It's just so abstract that it might as well be nothing until it's everything. It might as well be in a completely non-existent thing until it's something that you created, and you like Beethoven, it exists for hundreds of years. So it's both. And I think about that because you constantly are balancing the duality of that. And I think when I think about all of the people who I admire, they've found a way to really make what it is that they do bigger than themselves. It's for the greater good, and it's also connected to the essence of all things. And whatever your beliefs are in that regard, I think that is the thing that moves us the most when we feel it or hear it or read it. However you think about that, it is just a frame of how we can understand, wow, it's bigger than us. And then the question is, what is that? Is it? Now, you see, this is like a harmonica and a keyboard put together. My dad went to Japan when I was a kid and brought one back, and I played it everywhere that I would go. I would carry it around, and I would play it. In the Juilliard days, I would be playing this in the cafeteria and the subways, and they thought that I was out of my mind. Not to mention that wasn't the response they gave it when I played. It was more like, why is he playing a toy? Why is he carrying it around? And then I was also very much trying to discover, and I'd be curious, Boo, how you shaped your vision of yourself, feeling like an outsider. I felt like I was in those days shaping my artistry and also shaping the way that, okay, how do I communicate all of this inside to the rest of the world? And it was super awkward. So, and it was like experimental, and there was just a lot happening that people didn't understand, and I didn't know how to explain to them. So then it ended up being a thing where one day they asked me to speak to the psychologist because they thought either he's got to be on something or there's some mental instability that's happening. So that's what happened to me my first year at Juilliard. That was a symphony of events, a suite of mishaps, from falling out of my bunk to getting pneumonia and missing the first couple of weeks of school, to then fainting in the subway because I didn't know I had walking pneumonia, then going back to school and getting sent to the psychiatrist. That was my first year in New York. Welcome to the Big Apple.
My first deep moment of love for Jon was a platonic love. It came years before that. And that's when I was sick. And I had spent about 2 months in the hospital, and none of the treatments that I was doing were working, and I was having a terrible day. I was scared. I lost all my hair. I felt isolated, and that day happened to be the day that Jon heard about my diagnosis, and he was in rehearsal with his band, and he decided to bring his band out of rehearsal, and they showed up completely unexpectedly on the 8th floor of Mount Sinai Hospital in the oncology unit. And he brought with him Joe, who played the tambourine, Eddie, who played the sax, the banda, who played the tuba. And right there in my hospital room, they began to play for me. And as the sound of the music floated out into the hallway, other cancer patients started to kind of poke their heads out of their rooms. Nurses and doctors started to come, and everybody started to dance and sing together. And, you know, that kind of joy is not something you typically associate with an inpatient cancer unit. But more than that, I was struck by the fact that especially at an age where you don't necessarily, or many people don't have a lot of experience with dealing with illness, it's hard to know what to say or do to support someone. Sometimes when you don't know what to say, you end up saying nothing at all and staying away because of it. I was struck by Jon's ability to show up, and not, you know, with the phrases we grab for the, you know, stay positive or everything's going to be okay, or, but to show up with this gift that he has, which is music. And over the years, I've watched Jon show up for me, for complete strangers, for people he meets on the sidewalk, with that level of generosity and love. And I think for me, you know, the falling in love part was a kind of gradual deepening.